portrayed that, and we had the gorgets that identified us as leadership that they would give us. So, and the other thing I want to clarify is when Fred was talking about all of a sudden, after we were denied recognition, all of a sudden it became okay, right? They stopped fighting against us. Well, I'll tell you why. Because when I was on the commission at that time, and I had a conversation with the Attorney General back then. It was Mr. Griffin and Mr. Sorrell. And they were still opposing Abenaki Recognition. And we didn't have a great relationship at that time. And I told them it would be in their best interest if they would not oppose our recognition, just to let us prove ourselves. And they kind of said, why? And I said, well, you kind of made one fatal mistake. And they weren't quite sure how that was. So I told them, I said, well, you know, back in the early 1900s, or later 1800s, that you denied a land claim to the Mohawks for Vermont, right? Because the Mohawks said they wanted to claim this land. Like, you know, you're always saying you're finding Iroquois and pottery, and the Seven Nations we fought with the Seven Nations, right? Which was Ganawage, right? So they came down and said, well, we want Vermont, it's ours. And the legislators say, nope, this is Western Abenaki territory, not Mohawk territory. So they denied their claim. Then, when Missisquoi petitioned for federal recognition, they spent $250,000 to try to squash that recognition bill. They said, no, there's no Abenaki here. They all went to Canada. They're all Canadian. There's no Abenaki in Vermont. They just passed through because Ethan Allen didn't want to pay for that. And I said, well, you know what you did by doing that, right? They said, no. I said, well, you actually handed the land claim to Odanak because you're saying this is Western Abenaki territory and all the Indians are in Canada. Who's in Canada? The Federal Reserve up in Canada, Odanak. So I said, we don't want anything handed to us. We'll prove ourselves, but you're either fighting us or you're fighting them. You decide who you want to fight. But at least with state recognition, we're still under the control of the state. So they backed off and they said, okay, prove yourself and we'll leave you alone. And then if you don't, then we'll worry about the other later. So that's kind of why they backed off a little bit. And we were able to push forward, which was a huge step. So I'm gonna kind of go over, I got some wampum belts, which are our form of money.